Welcome to the third video in the Canvas tutorial series. In this video, we're going to take a look at quizzes and discussion boards. If we go into quizzes here, it's going to look similar to assignments where it gives an overview at the top and the instructions for the task. In this case, it's showing me that there is no due date for this particular quiz. It is 8 points, it is 4 questions, and there is no set time limit. All of these are customizable depending on your needs for the assignment. Underneath, it'll give any instructions needed, and when students are ready, they can hit take the quiz. Once students start an attempt, they've started it, so if there's a time limit, it will continue to tick even if they are not actively on the page. Make sure that when students do take their quizzes, they're in a place where they'll be able to either finish it or there is no time limit so that they're able to go back to it later. Once you hit take the quiz, if there's an access code set up, it'll prompt students to type it in. In this case, I have set the access code as test, so I'll go straight into it. And we get a little test overview window. So on the right-hand side, we can see all of the questions, and these will help students quickly navigate to them if they need to. Within each question, there's a little tab option. If students click the flag, what it does is note it in the questions list. So if students are going through each question and then will mark ones that they need to go back and revise or check, this is a great way for them to track that. It also shows them how much time they've been working on the test, and if there is a time limit, it shows them how much time is left. For each question, it'll give the question, the response options, and the point value. So in this case, I'm going to go through the quiz real quick and purposely get a question wrong so we can see what that looks like. And at the end of the quiz, it shows when it was last saved. So if students are working on the quiz and they need to go back to it at a later point, they'll know that it is up to date. If they have not made a change, then Canvas will check roughly every minute if it's not recognizing that a change has been made, and this little box will tick over to no new data to save, last checked at the time that they worked on it. If students are not going to be submitting it at the end of class, they need to make sure that the quiz save button updates, and then they can close out of the window. If they are submitting it, then they can hit submit, and depending on the settings of the quiz, they'll be able to see their scores immediately. Over on the right, it shows how long I worked on the quiz, what my current score is, with the asterisk that some questions are not yet graded, if there's an open-ended question, and what the kept score is. Because you can enable multiple attempts, you can set it to keep the most recent attempt, the highest score, or an average of the attempts. Underneath, again, depending on settings, teachers can enable the ability for students to see the correct answers and their own responses. So we can see I got a question right. We can see I got a question wrong and what the correct answer would have been. It also shows the points for this. If you're using a question that has multiple correct answers, it does give partial credit. And then finally, it'll show not yet graded out of the number of points for open-ended questions. Because Canvas can auto-grade things like multiple choice or matching, it'll generate that score immediately. However, open-ended questions that require the teacher to go back at a later point and grade will just calculate into the score as a 0 until it is graded. For that reason, we can see that it's currently saying I got a 2 out of 8 on this quiz. However, the real score would be 2 out of 3 because 5 of those points are not graded. Students can get nervous looking at that. What I encourage students to do is to instead go to the gradebook when they're looking at their scores, and it will show them a little rocket symbol to signify that it has not been graded yet and it is not calculating it into the final score. The grade view is also a great way for students to check what's been submitted and what their scores are. We can see that I have made a submission to that assignment from the second video. However, all of these other ones are missing submissions and are therefore not graded. The last thing we're going to take a look at is discussion boards. Discussion boards are a great way for students to interact with one another online, especially if they're not all in the same place. So I'm going to go into this first discussion, and it's going to let students know if it is graded. If it's not graded, this little blue bar won't be here, and when it's due. Underneath, students can reply to the response. One of the most common mistakes I see students make are to start typing in the search bar, so I always tend to remind students not to do it there and to actually hit the reply button. And then it gives them a way to type directly and then post a response depending on the discussion question. Students can also reply directly to one another and give some nonverbal participation if they want to give likes to students' responses who they agree with. Responses can be included immediately. So for example, if I went into this page and I had never made a post before, I can see what other students have posted, or I can hide those and set it to students need to make a submission first before they can see other students' responses. Again, that is an individual preference based on the assignment and teacher preference. Thank you for taking a look at this Canvas tutorial. I hope that you are able to use this information in your student teaching placement. Thank you.